really two different people.
We really are.
I'm not her in a wig.
Nope.
Hi.
I'm actually here with my sister, Emily Guy Birkin. She doesn't use a hyphen.
It's true. And I'm actually here with my sister, Tracie Guy Decker, and she does use a hyphen.
Yep. And together, the two of us,
Yes.
this is Lightbringers, where we illuminate the deeper meaning of the crime-solving devil TV show.
And yes, we're overthinking it
We are.
so much.
Mm-hmm. But right now, while we're in the same space, we haven't watched.
Yeah, so this is just our intro for you're going to see us in two separate boxes again next in just a few minutes.
And now. Now. And now. I'll fix it on the back end.
Yeah. So, and I have new socks, which unfortunately I'm not wearing, or else I'd lift my leg up for you to see, that say, "Shh, I'm overthinking it." And they were a present from a certain sister of mine. She also got me a mug that says, "I'm a ray of sunshine," and I'll make sure to be drinking from it when we're recording.
Because she is
part.
a ray
of sunshine. All right, see you on the other side.
Holy wow. It has been a long time.
It's been a minute. People have forgotten what we look like.
I know. This is it. Yeah. So we're back. Hi.
So both of us got a little busy.
Life happens.
It really does.
Yeah. So, but we're back and we're ready to talk about episodes 501 and 502. Really Sad Devil Guy and Lucifer, which I feel like could have been the name of our show, actually.
Yes, actually, that would not have been a bad.
So, you're going to have to be patient with me because even just this recording session, we had to postpone a little bit. So I actually rewatched the episodes. It's been probably a week and a half. Mm-hmm. So these are really good ones. And I feel like they're pretty well seared in my brain, but I might get a little confused about order and stuff. Mm-hmm. So, all right. So do you have a place you want to start?
Yes. Well, I want to start talking about Lee Gardner, Mr. Set Out Bitch. Because I have always had a soft spot for Mr. Set Out Bitch, just in seeing him recurring.
He's so real.
Yes.
You know? Like,
and there's something like so charming about him.
Yeah.
And like, even when the first time we meet him in season 2, he's knocking over a jewelry store. And, like, he seems like pretty hardened until Lucifer does the "what do you desire?" And he's like, "I want to be free." And he's like, "Oh yeah," because he thought it was the goddess was inhabiting him. He's like, "No, man, from debt." And like, there's something so real is a really good word for it. He's you feel like who he is. You feel the sense of humor that he brings to the world.
Yeah. The one, I mean, the sense of humor for me is the most recent time we've seen him before now, when Lucifer's handing him all that, he's like got the crown on, and he's like, his arms are full of like gold and money and stuff. He's like, "Can I go now?"
Yeah.
And then when he walks out and he sees Maze, he's just like, "Sup?"
Well, and so it kind of is, by giving him this entire backstory with this full episode, which I think is one of the things I really like, is that Jeremiah Burkett, the actor, he can bring it with Tom Ellis to sustain an entire episode, and like match him humor for humor and pathos for pathos, which is amazing. And you can kind of see what his whole life was, that, you know, he was charming. He was looking for shortcuts. There's absolutely excellent reason why Meg was so devoted to him, his sister. You know, she's, we only get a little bit where she's telling the story about him taking her to see Saw. but you can see where like, yeah, he was always going to be the charming screw up in the family, and but the charm was real, and there was a real like undercurrent of I'm not sure, kindness, I guess, is kind of under there. Like, again, we don't see much about him. The only thing we see is that the source of his pain, realizing that he was so afraid of disappointing his family that he missed his chance to see them again, which is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And then finding out just how much his sister missed him, also is just incredibly heartbreaking. But I so love getting a chance to spend time with him. And then also the level of kind of savvy, like, manipulation is such a negative term, but the way that he was kind of playing Lucifer a little bit, to be like, oh, I don't have to do that hell loop for a little bit if I keep him talking. Again, like, it all fits. Like, if he had found a different way to be, like, he could have been really successful in a bunch of different ventures. Because like that takes like intelligence and balls.
And an awareness of the, like, he actually read Lucifer really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, his life is, it's tragic, but at the same time, it's, there's something very beautiful about it. That's he did get that moment of intense joy at the very beginning, before we knew that it was in the hell loop.
Right.
But like, I'm glad that Lee got to have at least a moment of like
Fizzle. Yeah. So I want to talk about the storytelling. We are overthinkers. That's our job.
That's what we do
on this show. So I love, and our 12 viewers know that I love dramatic irony. Like, I really enjoy sort of knowing something that the characters maybe don't know. And I think our showrunners actually quite like that as well. Mm-hmm. What's really interesting to me is that with this new arc with Michael, they decided to like not drag it out, which I think was actually really smart. I mean, there's a little piece of me that's disappointed that it didn't go on for longer. Mm-hmm. But only a little piece, because I think there was something very satisfying too about sort of Lee and Lucifer are standing in front of Lee's family home in hell, and they talk about, like, don't you miss her? Don't you want to go see her? And then you see him come into the space where she is. And so you're like, for a moment, you're thinking it as she does, that it's him, but immediately the showrunners show us that he's still there. Mm-hmm, so we get a little dramatic irony in that we know that that's not really Lucifer, and Chloe doesn't. That only lasts for half an episode, like into the next episode. It doesn't last for that long, which is really interesting. But even in the sort of storytelling trickery, like the twist, they didn't give us that for very long either. They didn't allow us to believe that that was in fact Lucifer for very long. So I was really like, I noticed that really like stood out to me, like how quickly that was resolved for us. Like the trickery against us, but also against Chloe and Maze. The other thing that I'm going to really overthink, and I know I'm overthinking it, folks. Like, I know. If the Archangel Michael had in fact been Lucifer's twin in the last season, when we had a whole story about twins and hating yourself, we sure as shit would have heard about it.
Well, but we did get the moment of when Linda's trying to figure out baby names. And she
We
was
did.
like, what about Michael? And
Amenadota's
like,
like,
no, Michael.
Yeah. And in fact, when this was new,
Mm-hmm.
and I was talking to a good friend of mine about it, who I had gotten her into the show,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like, "Ugh, the unknown twin, really, the evil twin." And I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm with you." And like Neil Gaiman has painted the Archangel Michael as a dick repeatedly, right? Like the Archangel Michael is always an asshole in Neil Gaiman's stories. And so my friend was like, "Oh, well, I guess at least it's true to source material." Which still sticks with me. That like, you know, and overthinking it, cosmologically, actually, the idea that the archangel, so Michael, if we're going to talk about names, means one who is like God, Michael. And the fact that Michael, who is like God, and the angel who becomes the devil, the name of which means maybe scourge, maybe hammer, it's unclear. My Hebrew's not good enough.
The Samael.
Samael. But the idea that the one who becomes the devil, the one who actually, like in the Christian mythos, tries to overthrow and then ends up ruling hell, is actually literally twinned with the sort of second in command, who stays behind. There is something really satisfying about that, you know, like about it's sort of that old trope about the two, like the hero and the villain who were friends at school, but like more so because they actually have the same face.
Yeah.
So there's something like just deeply satisfying about this idea of twinning, which I have to say, like, if I were ever in a position to be a showrunner on a show like this, I mean, I have a really hard time imagining that eventuality, but hey, from my mouth to God's ear, right? I would be like, really, the evil twin? And then I'd be like, that's really satisfying that the angel is the evil twin of the devil. That's really satisfying. And I would probably have greenlit it too.
Well, it's
and that's all I have to say about that.
Now I'm thinking of the Satanic Verses, because the asshole is the angel and the sweetheart is the devil. It's been so many years 20 years since I read it.
Yeah,
so
I haven't
details, but
at least that long since I read it.
Yeah, it was your copy that I read.
Oh, so then it's more.
That's playing around with that, like, you know, being on the side of the angels does not necessarily make you good.
Yeah,
is really interesting. The other aspect of it, in terms of storytelling, is embracing the fact that this show is also a soap opera. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's
like with the shipping of Maze and I almost said Lauren, Chloe, Maze and Chloe. Yeah, that shipping is like, that's total soap opera drama.
Yeah, and so, you know, the long lost twin, you know, and like it's the miracle baby. There's so many aspects to it, and that's not to say that, you know, I think of this as like General Hospital or anything like that. But, you know, people who grew up to be showrunners, I'm sure, just consume all the television, and so there is that influence to it as well. And like, that's part of what I like about it. Like, when I really get into a show, I fall in love with the characters and I need to know what happens to them. And it is like, people will say, "Oh, it's gotten soap opera," and I'm like, that's kind of what I like about it, you know?
Yeah.
So I do want to say, so Tom Ellis as Michael is amazing because,
oh my gosh, I forget it's a different person.
I know. Well, like, that was like, I was so,
I mean, it's not a different person.
Yeah. Watching the second episode, I find hard to watch because I'm like, it's like Tom Ellis is hardly in it. Like, you know, he is.
Totally.
But
I'm right there with you.
I'm just like, man, I miss him. I'm like, he's right there. But
It's true.
I do want to say his American accent is both impeccable and deeply upsetting.
Yeah.
I can't figure out what it is, why it's so upsetting, considering it's really good. Like,
I think it's that sort of like unexpected, like
it's like when you pick up a glass that you think is water and it's Sprite.
Yeah, exactly. There's something wrong with Sprite.
Something wrong with Sprite. It's just upsetting.
Yes, it's very upsetting. I think that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is.
I have this, I crave and hate hearing him in the American accents. It's like the pimple popper videos. I have to watch, and yet I'm like, please no.
I find what's interesting is I've so internalized that American accent as Michael that now when I go back, they released an album with all the music. And so when he sang Luck Be a Lady, back in the Vegas episode with Candy and stuff, and he did it when he sings, it's sort of that Americanized. I'm like, ew, it sounds like Michael. So funny. So funny. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's talk about that second episode briefly. When Chloe knows, but we don't know she knows. And she's teasing him in front of the vending machine. That moment is so understated and beautiful when she looks at them and she says, maybe the reflection. And she walks away and he looks down.
He's like, oh,
reflection. So good.
Yes.
I mean, the writing, the acting, the editing is so good. That moment.
That's perfection. Yes. So I do want to say, considering the twinning and the, kind of the dark reflection of each other, the fact that Michael's power is fear, and fear being the opposite of desire is
fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well done, showrunners.
Yeah. And so I really appreciate that. And then I also appreciate the way that on rewatch, you see him using it because he doesn't do what is it that you fear? He doesn't have to look you in the eye
until that moment. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, which actually makes sense because I think Lucifer can do that too, to an extent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is how he ends up making out with people.
I find that really interesting in the way that he draws out it. Some of it just seems like he is attuned to people's fears in the way that that Lucifer is attuned to people's desires. So when Linda is who's watching hell, I got to protect this baby, and he it's very, very minor, but noticing she says this baby. And some of that is someone who's very attuned to people and attuned to that particular sense of something wrong in the way people are talking would be able to be interesting choice of words. Why do you say this baby? So, and then at the end we see that she is.
She has those pictures that have the 1994 with her in a hospital gown with an infant. Yeah. Yeah. I think I agree with everything that you said about the attuned, and the overthinking moment is Amenadiel so oblivious to human society when he first came to Earth. I mean, we saw that in the flashback episode where he drew a picture of a jack-o'-lantern. But even when he slept with a prostitute because he didn't know she was a prostitute, and just so completely oblivious to human culture and mores and whatever. Whereas Michael is deeply attuned. like completely intercultural in that sense, from Silver City to humans, which is really like, what do you think?
I have an in-universe explanation for that.
Okay.
So
In uterus?
in universe, not in uterus.
Okay, that makes more sense. I thought they were created. Okay. All right, I'm with you now. In universe.
Yeah, speaking of Linda's baby.
I'm pulling this out of somewhere. Okay.
I'll be right back. All right, I'm back.
All right, let's hear it. Your in-universe explanation.
So Amenadiel makes it clear that he thinks he's above humans, pays no attention whatsoever. In the Silver City, in my imagining, Michael is fascinated by humans because they are like bundles of fear. So he's been watching all this time and paying attention and kind of taking things in because they all have that fear that he's most interested in. And it would also fit with him being, Lucifer's twin, because Lucifer would be like, they're just bundles of desire.
Mm-hmm.
And so he is paying attention in a way that Amenadiel never would have occurred to him to, because you don't pay attention to ants.
Right. Or like Remy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And since we overthink it, that episode where we see like 5 years ago and like Lucy's in like 70s, fashion with like the big wide lapels and the bell bottoms and stuff. And
I can explain that too.
Fashion last time I was here.
Like, explain that too.
Okay.
So that is because from hell, Lucy can't pay attention to what's going on Earth, whereas from
heaven,
Silver City, you can see. So
okay. I mean, it does seem clear that he can't see, because like even when he and Lee are standing in front of Lee's childhood home and they're looking up, but it's clear that he doesn't know. And he also said, which Michael says too, so that seems in universe true, that it's only been a couple of months for them, but it's been thousands of years. So like that making the time different, like you and I have a hard time and it's like 1 hour difference. So like figuring out like where we are in the time continuum.
Yeah.
All right. I guess I'll buy it.
Sold.
I'll buy it. All right.
There is one thing. No, it's because I happened to watch something 2 days before I watched these two episodes. Is Adam Conover, who does Adam Ruins Everything.
Yeah, I've only seen an episode or two, but I'm familiar with it.
So he now has a podcast that he also releases on YouTube called Factually, where he interviews people about things that people don't know much about. I meant to look it up before we recorded, and I totally forgot. But he was interviewing a woman who is the author of a book called Snitch, and it's about how the police in America use informants. And how at either end of the spectrum, it's horrific. Because at the one end, you've got these like tiny little fish, like, someone's arrested for, carrying enough
something petty
marijuana to get themselves high. And they tell them you're going to go to jail unless you inform on your dealer. And then she was telling this horrible story of a young woman who got killed because of that. Like she went to inform, she wore a wire, the dealer found it and killed her. Then on the other end of it, you've got like Jack Abramoff, if you remember him. So like this huge, corrupt, horrible person who, because he knew the shit on everybody else,
he gets
off. And so having watched that the day before I watched these two episodes, I was like very aware of the propaganda of these two episodes. And in particular, so the way Maze was manhandling the guy that they brought in,
Mm-hmm.
And they play it for laughs. And the first time I saw it, I did find it, funny. And there's the moment where she and Chloe are finishing each other's sentences without quite finishing, and like that's amazing. And they also make this guy gross, so you don't feel bad for him. Like, but at the same time, it's just like, this is just some dude, he's just trying to live his life. So between that and then, the subplot with Amenadiel, like, I want to make the world safe for my child. And I'm like, yeah, American policing is not the way to do that. And so I was really uncomfortable. And, am, as we've mentioned before, like dealing with the, like, teasing out the fact that this show is something that I adore. And yet it is also a bit of the problem, part of the problem in American policing and the assumption of the police being the good guys. Yeah. So
and we will get, in season 6, we get the
there,
show a little bit, at least examining that. But yeah, it is an ongoing. For me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then also, like, there was the joke about, like, because Amenadiel comes to Dan, he's like, all right, I've got something. He's like, not another, jaywalker.
A litterer or whatever.
It was like a
3-year-old or something.
And it was a 4-year-old or 3-year-old. And it's like, and they're going for the joke, but at the same time, it's just like, he knows that has nothing to do with what's going to put his son at risk.
Keep his safe. Yeah, keep his son safe. Yeah. There is a bit of, though, that Amenadiel from the beginning was presented as this rule follower.
Yeah.
So there is, to an extent, that feels in character for this not quite fallen angel, who's, that is a learning edge for him about the fact that rules aren't good just because they're rules.
Yeah, that's fair.
So in the subplot, though, of the case of the week, there's a big old gap for me in the, why did Lucifer give her that message? And what happened to what was in the safe?
I think what we're supposed to believe what happened, what was in the safe, was he'd spent it. It was just gone. And so it was the same thing that he always did.
So why did Lucifer send Chloe that message?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because Lee and Lucifer don't know that the hand's been removed.
That's true.
That happens post-mortem.
Yeah, that's true.
Like that, the safe is the reason they took that. That seems like the reason that they would have told her that. But they don't know. That feels like a hole.
Yeah, I think you're right.
In that story.
I think you're right.
It made for some interesting,
character and detective work.
Well, it made for some interesting back and forth in the actually figuring out what the hell the message meant. A little who's on first that was kind of amusing, especially with that added layer of Chloe can't tell, at least, can tell Maze, but can't tell Ella
in front of
she
Ella.
got.
Yeah.
But
the only thing I can think of is that demons can be kind of dumb, and he had limited time in that jacked up body.
But the message was clear. He was I don't know, you stored it. That feels like a hole to me in the storyline. The other overthinking thing, which happens in both of these episodes, is how do the demons know that this new arrival is related?
Well, the only thing I can think of is that since now the time frame, like we don't know the exact, but Malcolm in season 1 was dead for 30 seconds, and it was like 30 years. So they're not like in hell, they're not new arrivals. Like they could have been there for what felt like 4 or 5 years.
Except that in the second episode, actually, I don't remember which one because it's been too long, but one of them is like, why am I here? What's going on? Right? It's the demon's the neighbor watering the lawn, wearing the bathrobe. Lord Lucifer, what? And then he's like standing there with the guy that had just died. I don't know if it was one of Lee's henchmen.
Yeah, I think it was.
It happens a couple of times, but one of the newly deceased is like, what's going on?
That's true. All right, that's another hole.
Although to your point, perhaps they were in their hell loop and the demon saw Chloe and was like, oh wait, Chloe's in this guy's hell loop.
Yeah.
Because if the hell loop,
and then if they take them out of the hell loop, it's like they started over again.
So maybe that's what it is.
So maybe it was just at the end of their first hell loop.
Maybe, or even in the middle.
Yeah,
depending on the demons. I don't know.
So I want to talk about the case of the week in the second one. I had completely forgotten that they were, poking fun at Elon Musk and
Jeff Bezos.
Yeah. Completely forgotten about that with Anders Brody, which I'd also forgotten that like they brought him back, like that we'd met him once before and they brought him back, and the guy's like, I thought we were friends. So I felt like they did a nice job, because sometimes they try to tie the case of the week to the characters. And it is like, what the hell? This is ridiculous. And then this one, I felt like they did a nice job of, like, it really is like someone goes someplace, they're away from their regular life for a long time. They come back changed, but not that changed. So I liked the parallels, and it was Chloe seeing the parallels because Lucifer wasn't there. But we get to the end and we find out who the murderer is, and it's that woman thinking that the guy was cheating on her. And he, as soon as he realizes that's what happened, he confesses. And she's like, no, I won't let you confess. And then he's like, nothing would change the way I feel about you. And I'm like, I don't know, murder would change the way I feel about someone. I mean, like, that sounds lovely, but
same. There actually are things that you could do that would make me, that I would dislike more than I love you.
Yes. And so, like, that to me was just like,
she stabbed her.
Oh, you froze.
Yeah. Oh shit, you're frozen. Damn it. You know when that happens. There you are.
I'm back to let you know.
I was thinking while you were gone. Anyway, okay.
So we were talking about
there are things that you could do that would make me not want to be with you. I mean, yeah. Like stabbing my coworker in the neck. That's one of them.
Yeah.
It's on the. Let me check the list. Yep, it's right there on the list.
Well, to be fair to the show, also, I feel like, not that it's the same, but Chloe saying to Michael, like, yeah, I knew Lucifer would never, like,
do that to me,
but do that to me with Maze, would never. And so, like, that's when she knew for sure, like, this is not Lucifer.
I don't buy that.
Yeah, well, like,
I think he totally would.
It's the nature of it. Like, it was the performative nature of it.
Yeah, the way that he was like, when Michael was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go home on my lonesome. And she was like, was that an invitation? And Dan was like, I don't know. That part was clearly not. Like, Lucifer would never have ignored her clear attempts to spend time with him. That I do think she's right about.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and it was set up. I mean, it was clearly a setup.
Yeah.
So it's not that Lucifer would never with Maze. It's Lucifer would never set her up to catch him with Maze. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember the first time I watched this, the whole time I was like, she's got to know. Please. She got to know. Does she know? I don't know. Does she know? She's got to know.
Yeah, me too. German redeems herself a little bit with these 2 episodes from my like super dislike of the end of season 4. Because you know, I binged the first 3 or maybe all 4 seasons, and then I was with the rest of the world waiting for 5, and you know, like 4 ended, and I was like, ugh, Lauren German. Recast. But then season 5 started, I was like, oh, perhaps I judged too harshly, because that, she does an awesome job.
Yeah.
Like it's even in like sort of the, does she know or doesn't she? Like, she does a great job.
Yeah. Yeah, she does. I have seen people say that they can tell when Michael is putting on Lucifer's accent, but it's not quite Lucifer's accent. I can't quite hear that.
Oh, no, me neither.
But when he is putting on Lucifer's accent, and particularly when they're in front of the vending machine, he is definitely not Lucifer there. Like, you can, and like, that is so impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's a discomfiture. He's enjoying her attention, but there is a discomfiture that Lucifer would not have. Like, there is a, like, not quite comfortable in his skin feeling that you get from him in that scene that Lucifer would not have when that was happening at all. Yeah. You know, there's another moment that's like, Michael, Lucifer kind of thing, which is when he breaks into the home of, it turns out, the murderer and the person they thought was the murderer, that like Lucifer has done before. Oops, it was open. And then the way Michael just takes off, and it's sort of scary the way she's following and seeing just like these glimpses of him in the distance. And then they hear the shotgun cock and like have to like jump out of the way. That whole scene. What?
Well,
what was Michael's angle? Like, was he like grooving on the fear? Like, I don't get what was happening that Michael kept going.
Well, the grooving on the fear is reasonable, like, you know, because if he senses the fear of the people in the house, the thing that I was thinking as it was happening was like, well, he is invulnerable.
Yeah. So he has no fear.
Yeah. So he has no fear of his physical safety anyway. The other thing that I found interesting in this time around was like when he jumps over the car with her, which is an amazing scene. And I am so resentful that it's Michael. But then also with the shotgun, when he grabs her and like he protects her the way Lucifer would in both of those scenes. And
well, he needs her to believe that he's Lucifer in order to break, to break his life, to break Lucifer's life the way that he wants to. So that makes a certain amount of sense.
It does. It's the lack of hesitation. It's like there's no question. It's just like an immediate like, and that's where I was like, that's interesting. What's going on here? And I don't know. I mean, this is me overthinking it.
Yeah.
So
the scene where she reveals him, where she shoots him. It's pretty
He's
great.
like, this isn't gonna, it doesn't hurt me. I'm like, yeah, but it's making me feel better.
Make me feel better. And then to prove that he's not like that who he is, he shows her his wings. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
These look like Lucifer's wings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even that, actually, thinking of the symbolism and the twinning, right? Lucifer has like bright white wings, and Michael's wings are like gray, dark.
Gray. Yeah.
Which is sort of interesting in terms of traditional symbolism, right?
Well, it's interesting also because like that dark gray is like in some ways the color of fear. Like if fear had a color, the idea that desire could be like bright white is
interesting.
Very interesting. So,
yeah, cool. All right. Well, we've been talking for a long minute now. Mm-hmm. So, do you have any fluff you want to lay on us?
I got 2 pieces of fluff.
Okay.
The first is that Linda looks amazing in these episodes. Like, she's just gorgeous. She's also the kind of mom that drove me nuts when my kids were babies. It's completely understandable and like forgivable and all of that, but it's also just like, calm down. Calm down. Another like very small thing. Ella has to do some it's thankless what Amy Garcia has to do. That she has to give exposition. It's like, yeah, sometimes I really like bad boys, like that exposition, and then also the fact that she had to define STEM. I'm like, did someone at Netflix say like, oh, people aren't going to know what STEM means? I'm like, just let us go with it. We can Google it if we don't know.
Yeah, that stuck out to me as well. That stuck out to me as well.
Yeah, and it's just like poor Amy Garcia. So, anyways, that's one. Like Linda looks amazing, and yeah, and poor Amy. Then the other is how is Tom Ellis such a good actor that he can make his ass look unattractive when he's Michael.
It's
and he's
really
not
funny.
Doing the shoulder thing. Then
no, he is. Well, I mean, like
only slightly. It's not there's the time where he's in silhouette where it's real obvious, and it's because he's like relaxing after having to be Lucifer all day. Like when he's pretending in the mirror, it's more.
It's a little bit.
Yeah,
it's funny because I remember the first time I was watching it, I was like, why is he standing like that? What's wrong with his arm? What's wrong with his back? Like, it was enough that maybe I study Tom's back more than.
But how is he able to? Like, because I'm sitting there going, like, I do not want to be looking at this. Whereas normally,
oh, I still do.
That's very much what I want to be looking at. Like, I didn't look that. I'm not saying I
ain't fast forward or anything.
Yeah. But it's not like, in previous iterations where I've been like, can we make this last 3 or 4 minutes longer? And it's just like, it's entirely acting. How do ass cheeks act? I don't know. So those are my fluffs.
I wish I had something. I wish I had something really good and juicy. It would make you laugh.
I am wondering how many pianos Lucifer goes through in a year.
Actually, that's not fluff. Like, that's legit. Why didn't he take her? All she wanted for the past 5 years was to go back.
Yeah.
And she'd just been dumped. Like,
yeah.
Take the poor girl home.
Yeah. Yeah. She, I know on the discussion boards about Lucifer, people get really mad at Maze because, every season she betrays Lucifer, or her friends. And, it's like, I feel like they did reasonable character work in every season. It is completely understandable why she does what she does. And this one is like the most comprehensible. And then the way that she is trying to use Chloe to fill all of the emptinesses that, like, you know, because she's missing Eve, then like Lucifer, her best and oldest friend, has basically
abandoned her.
Yeah,
completely abandoned her.
And she's stuck here. It's and then when she puts the move on Chloe, like, that also makes sense because that's the only way she knows how to be close to people.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so
Yep.
Yeah. Whew. Poor Maze.
Yeah. I don't want to end there.
Mm.
I don't want to end there.
Oh, I got another like little fluff. Amenadiel in the first episode wearing that 3-piece suit.
Facebook just told me I wanted to be Woodside's top fans. Hi, TB.
Oh man,
that's a good place to end it.
Yes.
All right, we overthunk it enough for one day.
We overthunk it so much today.
I will see you. I don't know, whenever we're able to do this again.
Yeah, the goal is next week.
About that. La 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 la. Oh. Loosen, baby. You don't have to carry. The weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go.